Yo, what is up guys, your boy IzuKage here with part 4 of what if Naruto could copy any Kekkei Genkai. So I've been thinking about it and I want to start this new segment before the what if starts. Analytic fun facts, where I share fun facts from my analytics. So yeah, this first segment, 1% of my viewers are actually 65 years and older. So who knows, maybe liking what ifs runs in your family and your parents, grandparents, great-grandparents, great-great-grandparents are watching IzuKage because, they obviously know he's the best what if around, at least in my opinion. So yeah, that's that for this first segment, and hope you guys going to enjoy the what if. We left off with Team 7 heading into the exam area for the tuning exams. They get in and are immediately blocked by a crowd of people. Some tunings were blocking the door to the exam room and it started piling up. People are trying to push their way in, but the tunings are just not letting them in. But Naruto realized something was a bit off. Why would they legit block the entrance to the exam room? So he activates his Sharingan and saw that the number on the sign was wrong. It was actually a genjutsu. So Naruto turned to his team and he says, the actual exam room is upstairs. I guess this was sort of a first test to weed out all the weaklings. So him along with Sasuke and Hinata head upstairs, and another team was actually following behind him. They get to the actual door but were stopped by Team Guy. Hinata turned and saw Neji and she quickly moved her eyes away from him, to avoid eye contact. Then Lee spoke up. "Naruto Uzumaki, the weakling of the class turned Rookie of the Year. Please accept my challenge to a fight." And Naruto was, at first, he was apprehensive of fighting. This wouldn't really help him in any way. But he was intrigued because he sometimes saw Lee training in the forest, when he was out there training as well. So Naruto said, okay, any rules to this fight? And Lee said, yes, just one. Only taijutsu is allowed. Naruto, him being a bit, proficient in taijutsu because he does mainly physical training, he agrees to the fight. The two go to an open area and Lee starts off immediately rushing at Naruto full speed. But Naruto easily tracks this. Lee tries launching a barrage of punches to Naruto's face, all of them being easily dodged because Naruto trains his reflexes. So he grabs Lee's foot and coats his fist in ice, and with his fist now triple the size and twice as hard, Naruto punches Lee in the gut, sending him to the ground. Both Neji and Temari were shocked yet amazed of this weird jutsu Naruto has. It's like nothing they've ever seen before. Some of you may be asking, why is the Ice Kekkei Genkai so OP and why doesn't he even have to use hand signs? So how I'm going to have Naruto's elemental, Kekkei Genkais like Ice, Wood, Crystal, stuff like that. How I'm going to have all of them work is like Gaara Sand. You see how he can have hand movements that can control it, but he can also use jutsu with hand signs if needed for higher damage attacks, I guess. So I'll have Naruto use hand signs now and then, but I'm just gonna keep flipping through, so it doesn't even matter. So Lee, now holding his stomach in pain, was trying to get up, but Naruto puts his foot onto his chest and says, "Stay down." Lee looked up at Naruto and just couldn't accept losing. He grabs Naruto's legs and threw him off, and Naruto just did a simple backflip and caught himself. But this gave Lee enough time to get back onto his feet. Lee, still in pain, whispers, "Guy-sensei, forgive me," then starts unwrapping his bandages. Naruto was curious at what he was even doing, so he let him finish. And Lee then rushed behind Naruto even faster now and kicks him into the air. Lee seemed to teleport behind Naruto, who is still floating in the air, and his bandages start wrapping around him. Naruto, this was interesting jutsu, but he was starting to get bored, so he was getting ready to finish this, but before he could, a kunai came in and pinned Lee's bandages to the wall. Everyone looked over to where it came from. It was a talking turtle that threw it. Of course, you don't see talking turtles every day, so everyone was a bit confused. But Lee went over it and started bowing and kept apologizing over and over for using a forbidden technique. The turtle then looked over at Naruto and thought, what kind of monster he is. Monster, in a good way, like his power is monstrous. So the turtle tells Lee again, to only use that jutsu when there's no other choice or when he has someone precious to protect, and disappears in a puff of smoke. So Naruto gets up, straightened up his clothes, and with his team, they both walked over to the exam room. But before they did, Naruto turned and told Lee and said, "Good fight," and then left. Tenten went to help Lee up, and all this time Neji wasn't moving. Tenten asked him if he's okay, and he said, "During the entire fight, Naruto was barely trying. I watched his chakra with my Byakugan, and normally when you're fighting, your chakra is moving to different areas of your body quickly." And Tenten is like, "Yeah, that's obvious." But Neji continues and he says, "Yeah, but Naruto's chakra the entire fight was resting." And both Tenten and Lee were shocked that, what they just experienced was just Naruto taking it easy, or, the same experience as someone just sitting down in a couch. So back with Team 7, they enter the room with everyone else, and Naruto sees that girl from earlier, Temari. He waves at her, which makes Temari blush a little, but that's when Ibiki steps into the room. He calls everyone into another room next to it and has them sit down far apart from each other, like anyone on their teams. So he started off handing out test papers and explained the rules. He goes similar, nothing really changes, how cheating is not allowed and anyone caught cheating will be disqualified. And since a team can't continue without all three members, then if one person gets disqualified, the whole team goes down, basically. Also, there will be a last question. So after they finish the paper, they'll have another question to answer. But with all that said, the timer starts and everyone begins their exams. 10 minutes go by and 2 kids are already spotted at the back by the invigilators, and those 2, along with their teammates, walked out with their heads down. Naruto, he could use a similar tactic to Sasuke, as Sasuke did in canon, using the Sharingan to copy a person's hand movements, or even using his Byakugan to see what the person behind him is writing, since it's almost 360-degree vision. But both of these aren't really that necessary since Naruto is smart enough to answer these questions on his own. So as time went on, Naruto, he's obviously bored, so he starts taking a glance around the room, and the first thing he realizes is that 40% of the people who were originally there were now gone due to them being caught cheating. And the next thing he realized was that girl from earlier was sitting right next to him this whole time. But Naruto didn't stare too much. The invigilators might think he was cheating. So Naruto goes to put his head back into the paper, and a couple more minutes pass and the time is up. Ibiki goes to ask the final question, but before he does, he explains the rules of the final question, that if you get it wrong, you will not only be disqualified, but you will never be permitted to take the exams ever again. This of course scared some people, what's another year gonna do? So it's better to get more training in. So now only 30% of the original number of Genins remained. And as they wait for the final question, the window at the front of the room breaks from a woman jumping into the class. She landed heroically, her fist to the ground, and says, "Ready everyone, head over to the forest of death." And she looks up at everyone, then to Ibiki with a puzzled look, and Ibiki just face palms and says, "Uncle, you didn't let me finish." And she's like, oh, sorry about that. And Anko just laughs sarcastically and like slaps Ibiki on the back and says, ugh, whatever. Hey, they're all yours. So as he's walking out, Sakura stands up and says, but sir, what about the 10th question? And, Ibiki, he's about to walk out of the door and he says, there is no 10th question. It was just a trick. And hearing that, some people, this let off a heavy sigh of relief because they were really stressing over that question. So, but with that, the exam was over, but Anko's instructed everyone to head over to the Forest of Death. So while Naruto was walking over, he spotted someone looking real sus off to the distance, near the fencing of the forest itself. So Naruto told Sasuke and Hinata he'll meet them at their gates, and he had something to do real quick. So they actually couldn't even say anything to Naruto. He just ran off, and Naruto went to follow this person with long black hair. Naruto couldn't really make out any more features except she wore the same clothes as those grass shinobi. So while Naruto was following them, he saw a pit and smelled something foul coming from it. He went over to look at it and his eyes widened to see the team of grass shinobi just all dead and snakes eating away at their body. Naruto looked up to find that shinobi again to tail him to see what he could do, but she or he or whatever it was already gone. So Naruto ran back to where everyone was gathered for the exam and to Anko. She was off to the side, sharpening her kunai or something, and Naruto told her about what he saw and that there were also snakes on their bodies. And just hearing the word snakes just brings Anko through a whirl of PTSD with Orochimaru and things. So she already knows who this is and she was ready, to call off this portion of the exams, but all the teams were already at their assigned gates and they were starting the match right now. So Anko ran off towards the Hokage's office in hopes to stop Orochimaru, and Naruto went to his team's gates. Luckily, they actually waited for him and didn't run off. So when Naruto gets there, they go start jumping from branch to branch like ninjas. Wow. So Naruto told his team about the unknown shinobi and how, if they see any snakes, they should not engage. And as he says this, a huge snake comes crashing through the trees, but they all dodge and get to higher branches. And on top of the head of the snake, Naruto saw the same male, female, whoever was riding on top of it. Naruto knew there was no escape. I mean, he could outrun the snake, but his teammates aren't as fast. So Naruto told them to leave this to him and jump down near the head of the snake. The person on top of the snake spoke, "Bring me Sasuke." Naruto was thinking what he wanted with Sasuke, but the snake didn't give him any time to think. He tried whipping, the snake used its tail to whip at Naruto, but Naruto jumped in time, but the branch he was standing on just snapped in half. Naruto then weaved some hand signs and said, "Ice Glacier Jutsu." A massive shard of ice came up out of the ground and impaled the snake. Orochimaru was intrigued by this because he knows Naruto is from the Uzumaki clan, not Yuki. So how? Naruto then activated his Sharingan and used some of the jutsu he copied from Kakashi, like Mud Bog Jutsu, to sink the snake into the ground and earth burial to trap the snake, leaving only its head visible, but it was dead at this point. Orochimaru was now drooling at the mouth. He couldn't contain himself. He has ice and the Sharingan. Maybe there's someone in the village like him who experiments and Naruto is a product of that. Maybe. And Orochimaru just kept thinking about all these possibilities, but he realized that he was supposed to be fighting. So he looked up and both Naruto and the rest of Team 7 were gone. Orochimaru was a bit mad at himself, but this just gives him time to plan and figure out Naruto's secrets. So meanwhile, Team 7 is on their way to the center, but forgot the most important thing, the other scroll they needed. So Naruto asks Hinata to use her Byakugan to find us some easy prey. She was a bit confused at first, like why doesn't Naruto just use his own? But I mean, she doesn't really get to do much, so this is the least she can do. So Hinata saw a team of 3 trying to catch some fish to their east, and there's some just weak leaf ninja, so they head there. And yeah, they easily take these guys down. They're barely stronger than, I don't know, like, what's his name? The third Hokage's grandson, Konohamaru. Yeah. Kid Konohamaru. They're barely stronger than him. So they get their scrolls easily, and they went to the mansion, like towards the center of the forest. And since this is a slightly different route from canon, they don't end up with the same interactions as canon. Actually, they get to the They get to the mansion no problem, only having to wait for like everyone else to show up. So about an hour pass, and they're all just chilling on the couch, waiting for more people to arrive. And then Team Gaara walks in. Naruto was actually quite surprised to see them, and Gaara was surprised to see them as well. He thought 100% that they would be the first ones there. But, guess their team is stronger than they look. So each member of the team gets their own little room to rest in, since the other teams are most likely coming either the next day or the day after. So they get, some time to rest up. So Naruto decided to take a walk around the building, since those rooms are mostly empty. They literally only have a futon on the floor. So Naruto went upstairs to the top of the building, and there he saw Temari already there. He walked up and started, spitting game. He said,
"I like you and I want you. Now we can do this the easy way or we can do it the hard way. The choice is yours."
Okay, he doesn't actually say that, but trust me, I do it and it works all the time. Right, babe? Babe? Yeah, she's out, like, getting groceries. Yeah, anyways. So, yeah, he's out, Naruto just asks her regular stuff like what's her name and how's life back in the sun. And Temari actually felt really comfortable around Naruto for some reason. I mean, she just met him, but she just felt like she could talk to him and confide in him. So Temari told Naruto about her situation with Gaara and says he can be a bit crazy sometimes, but that's just the Shikaku inside of him. She knows he's a nice person, he's just confused. So Naruto was actually pretty surprised to hear this. 1, Gaara is a Jinchuriki, and 2, how much it's affecting Temari's life. So Naruto told her he actually has a Jinchuriki as well, and though when he was younger, he wasn't even treated like a human being, but he worked hard with a hidden power that helped him. And Temari just thought he was like speaking in metaphor or something, not like a literal, hidden power. But yeah, so by the time they're finished their convo, like it's already nighttime, so they head back inside. Gaara and Kankuro saw Naruto walking with Temari, and when Temari came up to them, Kankuro was immediately saying like, "What are you doing with that dumb leaf shinobi?" And Temari said, "It's none of your business. At least he actually acts normal, unlike you two." And she storms off to her room. Kankuro didn't even know how to respond to that, and Gaara was being like as quiet as always. So fast forward to the next day, and all the teams finally started showing up, and they line up in the areas where they would be doing the preliminary exams. The Hokage comes up and he explains that too many people passed, and he's actually surprised that some passed. He's actually surprised to see certain faces passing, and when he says that, he glances at Naruto, and Naruto obviously sees it, but he wiped that like little smirk off his face soon enough. So Hiruzen continues saying that there will be preliminary rounds to decide who goes on. So all these fights, they don't really change. There's not really much to it, but except the fight between Naruto and Kiba. That obviously does, since Naruto has a more wide array of skills. But since the Hokage is there, Naruto actually decides to hold off on showing, some of his more advanced abilities, and he only uses taijutsu and ninja tools against Kiba and Akamaru. And this was enough to take them down because, they're not really that much of a challenge, let's be real. So, this is where we'll be breaking for the 1 month training. And you guys might be wondering, IzuKage, I haven't heard Mikula all episode. Did you forget about him? No, I didn't. But I'll get into like what he's doing when we're at the 3rd stage of the Chunin exams. So during this 1 month training, Naruto isn't going to be trained by Jiraiya because he's training his brother, and Kakashi since he's training Sasuke. So Naruto actually goes solo on this. He refines some of his ice abilities, and even asking Haku to teach him some of her jutsu, because this entire time Naruto has been winging it with the Kekkei Genkai. So the first week into the training, and it's going well, but the only thing is Naruto, when he trains to exhaustion, and like he passes out outside. So one of these nights, Naruto gets an unexpected visitor, and when he woke up, he was being carried by an Anbu member. Of course, Naruto was confused to what was going on, so he tried moving, but his limbs were restrained with seals. The other Anbu member realized Naruto was awake and knocked him out again. But as he got knocked out, Naruto felt water hit him and he woke up again in a chair, but saw no one. He then heard footsteps coming closer and closer, and a man spoke. Well, Naruto, you seem to have something really valuable. How about I just take it? And that is where I'm going to be leaving this one off. Sorry for the cliffhanger. But thank you guys for sticking around to the end of the video. If you liked it, like. If you like my content in general, consider subscribing. And yeah, I'll see you guys in the next What If.